Hi everyone, you're welcome to another interesting sewing tutorial. It's been a while on here, but I am fully back. I've been so busy and that is why you've not seen me post right here. But now I'm fully back and ready to give it to you back to back. On today's tutorial, I'll be sharing with you how to cut a stylish dress with draped sleeve. If this sounds like what you've been interested in knowing how I did it, then you have to stick around till the end because there is a whole lot to learn from this tutorial, from that manipulation to the perfect way to get your draped sleeve and much more. Please stay with me and see through the whole process of making this beautiful, beautiful dress. So I started with a plain paper, right? Now the next thing to do is to fold your paper into two because this is an asymmetric pattern. One shoulder and one part there is no shoulder at all. So I folded my paper into two, and the next thing to do is to go ahead and draw a line at the beginning of this paper, just as you can see right now. So after drawing this line, I will go ahead and mark the neck. Basic neckline of 3 by 3. You can use 3.5 by 3.5 if your client is a bit on the big side. So after that, I drew with my armhole curve, and then I had to measure my shoulder. That's the shoulder of your client, right? Shoulder measurement divided by 2, and then connect with a vertical line, just like this. Now we will drop the shoulder by 1 inch and connect this to the side of the neckline. Please pay close attention aside what I am saying. So now the next is to take the bust level, all right, and the half length. So I had to take it again, bust point, that is shoulder to bust point, and then half length, and I ruled my horizontal line across this part, okay, so that you will easily know what I am doing. Now this is the bust, and the half length depicts the waist. So after that, we have the bust measurement divided by 4, and you mark at 2 or 3 points and draw a straight line, that is vertical line there. So now the next is to draw our shoulder armhole, right? So here I dropped by 5 inches and had to go in by 3/4, and then I took half of my armhole measurement. So after marking it, I had to take my armhole curve rule and draw the armhole. So after that, the next is to measure the waist measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch dart intake. Okay, so after that, I marked and then connected to the side, just as you can see me do right here. So now the next is to go ahead and measure the bust to bust on this bust line, and also measure it on the waistline, that is nipple point to nipple point. Now mark half inch on both sides of this on the waistline and drop this by 1. Ensure it is also at the bust to bust, and these are the landmarks you will use to draw the dots, which is what I am doing now. So where I'm shading will go off at the end of this tutorial, or more like it is the dart intake, depending on how you want to use it. So pay close attention to see what I'm doing. Now this is the difference between the front and the back half length, which from this pattern it is 1.5. I marked it and connected to the bust point. So I'm shading it off too because we are going to be manipulating all of this at the end of the day. So watch closely. There is a whole lot to learn from this tutorial. Yes. So after this, you can see what I have right here. Now the next thing to do is to just to go ahead and cut out. You know that the lower part is a flea, so just go ahead and cut out. So now this is the front pattern, and I will keep it aside. No, I am using it to cut out the back pattern instead of starting everything afresh. So watch closely to see how I'm going to use the front to get the back pattern. It's a unique way, and that is another thing you're going to learn from this tutorial. So what I did here is just to cut out and added a little on the waistline, and then took exactly the rest of the measurement the way it is. So when I got here, I had to come out here by 1/4 because the across back is bigger than the across chest, that is across front chest by 1/4 inch. That is the difference on that armhole. So what I'm marking with dotted lines is exactly the line of the front because I'll be needing it for the back draft. Now watch closely to see what I'm going to do here. I had to mark, you know, half inch here and came out by half inch there. Now I just realized that the front and the back half length is not the same. Now, this is what you're going to note so that you don't make this mistake. When you cut out, you're going to remove 1.5 inches depending on what the difference between the front and the back half length is. For this very tutorial is 1.5, and that is what I marked. So I had to remark the waist measurements at this level that we are here right now. So I did the same thing I did earlier. I went in at this center back by ½ inch, and I had to draw the back tightening. And from that back tightening, I will take the waist measurement divided by 4. That is exactly what gave me this mark. Okay, that's why I went in on the center back by half and came out by the side by half. Where I shaded will be going out at the end of this tutorial. Please, if you don't understand what I explained here, feel free to ask me question in the comment section and I will be answering. Or if this is confusing, please go ahead and draft your back pattern from scratch. Okay, but I felt this is a way of like saving time and yeah, of course, energy. So after this is what I have for the back pattern. Of course, it is correct, and I am going to go ahead and write back. I wrote left and right because I don't want to make mistake. I had to do the same thing for the front as well, so that it's an asymmetric pattern. You won't have to make mistake of where would the front be, where would the strapless be, where would the shoulder be, something like that. So you have to note that from your pattern so that when you're cutting on fabric, it is actually easy to know where the no shoulder is and where the shoulder is. So what I'm drawing now is actually the asymmetric neckline. So you can see that by the side of that neck I went in by just ½ inch. Okay, so when I am drawing my that, I'm going to contour that back. I'm going to contour that back so that nothing will make the back neckline to gape. So you see the contour guidelines when we get to that stage. So I'll keep this back aside and get the front. So what I did here was just to note where the side bust dart is because it's going to be the same for the two parts. So I also had to mark for the waist dart because what I want to do here is to get exactly what I have for this side. I will have it drawn on the second part of this pattern. But before I go to that, I am going to draw the neckline just as I did for the back. You can see the side of the neck there. I went in by half just as I did for the back as well. So I have also noted left and the right side so that nothing will make me make mistake while cutting on fabric, provided you follow all of those guideline markings on the paper. So after that, this is what I have, and I am going to go ahead and trace out these darts because I want to get exactly what I have on this side, on the opposite side of this very pattern. So what I'm marking here, I used my tracing wheel to trace out the dots and I'm going to draw it out with my marker pen. So what I'm drawing is exactly what I have on this other side of the pattern. So yeah, so this is what it is. I had to go ahead and shed it out as well. So now you're going to watch closely what I'm going to do here. So now you're going to cut out this just as you can see what it looks like. Now the next is to go ahead and slash the darts open just as you can see, and then you close it up. If you want your darts to be on the waistline, you can close the side post darts and leave your darts on the waistline. But now what I want to do is to close up the waistline dart and transfer this dart to the side. I don't want any dart on the waistline. I hope this makes sense. Just in case you're using something like a lycra or even a crepe fabric and you don't want darts all over the pattern, now this is what you're going to do. You're going to close up the waist dart and leave all of the darts to be by the side. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to close up the waist dart and leave all of the darts to be by the side. You can see that the dart on the side has increased because we have closed the waist dart for this front and transferred it to the side. Now watch closely to see what I'm going to do. That's why I said aside what I am doing, watch closely to see what I'm going to do here. So when I measured, I noticed that this did not cut through the contour guideline for that part because it did not even get to the bust line. So it's not passing through any contour guideline. So because of that, I had to leave out the contouring for that front. So for this back, you can see what I have already. I'm going to take out that from the side. So what I did was to transfer the 1-inch dart that is at the middle. I've transferred it to the side, but you can as well transfer half to the side and transfer the other half to the middle, which is the back tightening. I hope this makes sense. That's what I'm trying to point out here. Yeah, the dart that is supposed to be stitched, I have transferred it to the side and cut it out. What I'm trying to say is that this 1-inch dart, you can cut out half from the side and cut out the remaining half from the back tightening, if this makes sense. So this is what the pattern will look like. You're going to cut it before. So when you're going to stitch up this side that I'm closing up now is on the fabric. Okay, the dart is going to be open by the side bust dart, and you're going to cut it like that on your fabric. Is after cutting on fabric, you're going to stitch down this side bust dart. That's when you're going to stitch it down because that's the only dart we want present on this front bodice pattern, if this makes sense. So that is what I just did now. Just I'm assuming that this is already on fabric, and do not forget to add your seam allowances. Do not forget to add your seam allowances, 1/2 inch all through, except the side where you can add 1-inch seam allowance. Okay, so if you're making something like lycra, you're going to cut with still like 1/2 inch side seam is enough so that it will not be bulky. That is stretchy, you can still wear it. But if it's like a crepe fabric, you have to add your seam allowances and possibly even your zipper, because crepe doesn't really stretch like lycra. But if you're using a lycra fabric, you can cut exactly like this. Because it stretches, you can easily wear it still. So now this is the back. You can close it up like this and cut if you're using a lycra fabric. So but if you want a line running at that middle back, you can as well cut it through open and still stitch it up if you want a line like a design at that center back. But if it's a crepe fabric, definitely is going to have a zipper there, because without that zipper you cannot wear it. It's not as stretchy as lycra. If you also want to make it on Ankara, you will have to do the same thing. You will allow it to have a zipper so that it is wearable. So what I'm trying to do now is the drape. So what I did was to just go ahead and trace out this neckline. You will trace out your neckline just as you can see me do, and I had to extend it like this and also mark where it ended. So this is what I have at the end of the day. So what I'll do is to go ahead and trace all of this out, trace exactly what I have, and then use my tape measure to measure how wide I want the drape to be. So after that, I'll do the same thing for the back. I'll bring my back pattern and go ahead and trace it out. I want to get the basic pattern for the drape before I start slashing and then spreading. Okay, so I had to trace exactly the back, just as you can see. This is the front. I had to write it front. Because they are the same shape, you can easily mix up the one that is front and the one that is the back. So after measuring how wide I want it to be as well, just as I did in front, I wrote back. Now the next is to go ahead and cut it out. I also marked where the shoulder is, very important, so that you don't mix up the shoulder for the side. It's very easy to do that. You can easily do that because they look the same. Okay, so now I had to mark where the zipper will be, very important as well. Because if there is a zipper on this dress, like you're doing a version where you need a zipper, you definitely need that line on the drape. So now what I did here was to mark the slash lines, just as you can see. I just had to do it randomly. You can as well measure yours You can measure 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches all through and all of that. But I was okay with this. I was actually doing this in a hurry to meet up with time because I was about going out to somewhere when I was doing this. So now I had to pin down this. All you have to do now is to cut open. When you cut, you spread, depending on how full you want your drape to be. Now, that is what I like about pattern making. It will really help you to control a lot of things, right? How full you want your drape to be or how scanty you want it to be. So if you want your drape to be very full, you can spread this part to be, more than this. But if you want it to be scanty, you can as well just control your spread. Make it bigger if you want fuller drape, make it smaller if you want scantier drape. So now what I did was to connect those parts because they are important. Remember that we have an extension on the sleeve here, and that is what I marked. I just had to mark where the drape ended and then just made an extension. Note that this extension will be according to the measurement you get on your client, okay? Just measure from where your armhole ends, where your armhole is from the front round the arm to the back, yes, and allow it to fall the way you want it to fall on the hand. I hope this makes sense. This is actually by choice. If you want the drape to fall on the hand, you're going to keep your tape like that and measure any measurements you get there. You're going to divide it into two, and that is what the extension is going to be, if this makes sense. But if you don't understand still, you can ask me in the comment section and I will explain better, okay? So I had to do the same thing for the back. I had to spread and of course added an extension depending on how you want it to drop on the hand, okay? The longer it is, the more drapey, like the more it will drop on the hand, if this makes sense. But if you don't want it to like drop, like from a kind of U-shaped drop on the hand, you can still take it straight, but it's going to restrict your hand a bit. So you can see how I taped this together, and here is the front. I've taped this together. So this is me removing all of these pattern pieces that I used for the spread, and now this is how you're going to ruche here. You're going to ruche it and join it on that shoulder. You do the same thing for the back. So the drape will be joined on the shoulder. It's still possible to join it on the shoulder and tack it surface. You can also work it on the shoulder and stitch it together with the shoulder line. It's absolutely by choice and depending on how bulky it is. As a designer, you'll be able to decide which is better as you progress in the dressmaking. I hope this makes sense. So this is me trying to like tape it down. So I'm ruching it and trying to tape it down. You know that this is paper, it's not flexible. So that's why some part of it are tearing, but of course on fabric it's going to be perfect. So you can see how it is going to drop on the arm. So this extension is going to drop on the arm. So depending on how you want it to drop, that is what will determine how long the extension will be. I hope this makes sense. So this is the front, and of course this is the back. We are going to tape the back on the shoulder as well, and this is what it is going to look like. Yeah, so that's the perfect way to make your drape. You can cut a tiny strap just as it appeared in the pinned post. Cut a tiny strap and put on the other shoulder that does not have a shoulder. Yes, just put a strap there. Okay, a matching strap. I didn't remember to do that while drafting this. I actually omitted it. It's supposed to be part of this pattern, but I omitted it. So draft your strap while making your pattern. Yes, just draw your strap on that side that does not have shoulder and cut it out. So this is me drafting the flea that will be on the lower side, and yeah, this is what it looks like. I just had to fold my pattern on triangle or on buyer's green, and then you're going to go ahead and measure your waist. This is the front waist only, divided by 2, and I use the measurement I got to mark here where I got it exactly, and I measured this point from the point of this triangle and ensured that I got the same all through. Now this is how to get a uniform flow of flea. If this is the method you're using for your flea, you can as well draft your flea from your basic skirt pattern. I hope you know that. I don't know if I have to tell something like that on this channel, but this is also another way to get a uniform flea. I said aside what I am saying, please pay close attention to what I am doing and you'll understand everything that I did in this tutorial. So after this, I had to go ahead and cut out. So this is the length of the flay. You can make your flay to be long. You know, this is for tutorial purpose. So I had to make do with what I have. So you will have to have this, and this is the flay. You can use it for the front and for the back as well. So if you're using a zipper for the back, you would definitely cut through the middle of this flay. I hope this makes sense. You cut through the middle so that the flay at the back will have a zipper allowance. Okay, so there's a way I sew this zipper area most times when I'm making a flay. I don't really allow the slash to get to the hem of the flay. I will just leave it like 2 inches below where the zipper will be ending. And there's a way I angle it out, maybe in another tutorial or in subsequent tutorial where necessary or relevant. I will show you how this can be done. I didn't remember while making this. Maybe I would have just illustrated so that you understand what I mean. Okay, but know that this flay will definitely have allowance for zipper for the parts that will be at the back. If you are making this dress with something like Ankara or crepe that does not really stretch so much, but if you are making it with a lycra fabric, you don't need that. The flay will match exactly because you're not going to put zipper at the back. But if you're putting zipper at the back, the flay will definitely have a zipper allowance at the back to accommodate the zipper. Okay, you make this particular flay but with zipper allowance at the center of it. I hope this makes sense. So at the end of the day, this was what I got, and it was beautiful. You can agree with me that this is absolutely stunning. And yeah, try it out and let me know what your result is. I know that it's going to be perfect. Just cut a strap and put on this part of the shoulder that has no shoulder, because that is the design on the dress. Thanks for watching, guys, and thanks for always stopping by to watch my videos. I do not take it for granted. Here on the channel, I will share lots of sewing tutorial videos, pattern drafting videos that you would definitely be learning from. Thanks always, and do well to subscribe and turn on your notification bell to be the first to know each time I upload my videos. I love you all, and of course, I will see you in my next video. Bye.